So folks on the phone and also folks in here, welcome to our second chapter meeting for Silicon Valley for Peak. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Natasha, and I'm very happy to also be introducing to you today some folks from our leadership team. So a couple folks who weren't able to make it today, Michael Vargas has basically taken our initiative for all kind of the communications with the party, with some key folks on the leadership side with the Democratic Party to really reach out to them and see who are we kind of getting some early endorsements or just some early kind of support from our local community here for Pete. And then I'm also really happy to have everyone get introduced to Dan. Dan is an industry veteran who's heading everything we're doing for our technology tools. And he's got some awesome demos to show you guys today about all of the tools we're developing to help make you successful as grassroots volunteers. And everything we're trying to do to be very data-driven and kind of map out strategically how we're going to really make canvassing and volunteering and outreach really make our effort count. I'm really excited to have Dan today show us everything that he's working on. So with that, I just want to briefly go over a couple of events that we're working towards for the near term. So we're going to be going over today San Francisco Pride, San Jose Pride, and KDEM as well. And I believe we have Kyle McElroy. Am I saying that right? McElroy. Kyle is a delegate for KDEM, and I'm going to have him come up to talk to us for a couple of minutes about what this event is, why it's important. Okay, and then we will go into Dan's section on technology tools and an update. What have we developed? What are some early demos that we have? And then finally, each of you should have gotten a red sheet for the Grassroots discussion breakout. So we're going to kind of discuss what were some of the top 5 places you guys wrote down for places we can flyer and start doing outreach. And then brainstorm out loud what are some of the top 5 policy positions that you think we should advertise on what we're going to design, which is kind of a go-to placard for us to hand out. And what we're going to do, Dan, if we can maybe facilitate this with your Heatmap interactively, is map out all of the places that we kind of come up with on this sheet and kind of see how we fall within Silicon Valley, South San Jose.
Hard to do interactively, but we can come with something to do that.
Yeah. Or kind of out loud, maybe brainstorm a little bit. How are we spread out in Palo Alto and South San Jose? So that's kind of a summary of what we'll be going over today. Okay, so a couple of things for upcoming events and kind of coming back to what we talked about in the last meeting with our goals for this upcoming quarter to really expand our organization greatly to get volunteers recruited. Well, one of the biggest ways we can do that is really focusing on our 2 Pride events. One being Silicon Valley Pride in the Cesar Chavez Plaza. That will be on August 25th. I will be the primary contact for coordinating this for the meantime. However, if anybody wishes to volunteer for this particular responsibility in terms of getting us in contact with the Pride coordinators on their side and kind of facilitating that communication, please let us know. But this is so for this effort, we're going to be going out and recruiting locally. But then San Francisco Pride, our biggest goal for right now is to recruit a 100-member march. So save the date. It'll be on Sunday, June 30th. We are working with Joe Rodriguez from the San Francisco chapter. For folks who came for the last meeting, Joe was actually here to give us a talk about what they're doing up there. And Joe has really launched a massive effort to recruit all across the Bay Area to get this huge contingent of people to march. And, just to give you guys an idea of what a high visibility event this is, rumor has it Kamala Harris has really gone full force into recruiting a huge amount of people to march at San Francisco Pride. So very high visibility event. Obviously we can't overstate enough the first openly LGBT candidate for president. Definitely we need to kind of get his name out there in one of the most widely watched pride parades in the country. So one of the things we'll be talking about today is kind of putting together a tabling schedule and a strategy for how we're going to recruit that 100-member march for San Francisco Pride. Okay, So those are pretty much the two main events that for the next several months, we're going to be focusing a lot of our initiatives on. We're going to be posting a tabling schedule on the Silicon Valley for Peace website, which I'm very excited to have Dan show us today, a little demo of what that's going to look like. So all of the members in here, you're going to be able to log into that website, look at a tabling schedule, look at kind of where near you are we having sort of a meetup event to table at a farmer's market or at some sort of location that we all kind of brainstorm today in your respective areas. And I know that folks in here, how many of you are from the Peninsula area? Can you raise your hands? Okay, yeah, like from Sunnyvale to Palo Alto, Menlo Park, right, okay. Okay, so so we have Peninsula, and then how about South San Jose? Anybody here from South San Jose? Okay, all right, and okay.
Further south than South San Jose.
Yeah, who's further south than that? Wow, okay, okay, whereabouts?
I'm Morgan Hill.
Morgan, wow, okay, Morgan Hill, okay. Okay, so I'm kind of seeing, I guess, three distinct groups in here pretty much. Peninsula, South San Jose, and Gilroy, Morgan Hill. So
Central San Jose, Santa Clara.
And okay, yeah, Central San Jose, Santa Clara.
We have at least from last time, we have a lot of people bunched around there.
Okay.
Does Santa Cruz have its own organization?
Not that we know of.
They have a Twitter account. I just saw, I think, but
They started
more
one.
than that, I think.
So right now, as far as groups that are actually meeting, I know LA is meeting. San Diego, I think they are planning to meet, and then San Francisco, they're having their first meeting, and then this group.
Anyone here from East Bay? Yeah, we're over here today. Okay.
There's an East Bay for Pete account. I don't.
And they're fairly
They're having a
Yeah,
watch party
Melissa.
for the town hall thing.
Melissa runs East Bay and Bay Area for Peace.
And I know there's quite a few that I see that they're not organized, but they're Sacramento area. There's quite a few that I talk to that I can see on the profile of from that area.
Okay.
So then maybe they just need somebody to pick and organize.
Okay. But I think for now, for Silicon Valley, it looks like we pretty much have these four regional groups. So Central, Peninsula, South San Jose, and then Morgan Hill and Gilroy. So I think, as we're kind of going through our tabling exercise, kind of think about, in those major metropolitan areas, what are some good ideas for tabling and, soliciting volunteers. We are going to include in a grassroots kit that we'll be developing for everybody a March volunteer registration form. It'll be a Google form that we are going to basically allow you to kind of, either on your phone or on an iPad, be able to register people. We'll also have printouts available as well. But keeping it on a Google form kind of makes it very nice in that you can sort of keep a central repository of this information. And what we're going to have to do is eventually kind of collect that, bounce it up to the folks managing the Pride committee. So Joe Rodriguez has a proper Pride committee that is actually collecting all this data, seeing what the numbers are looking like, where the demographic distribution is to hand over to the PEAT team. So that's kind of what, the overall sort of roadmap for where that data is going to go. So that's why we would encourage everybody to kind of use this Google form that we'll be developing for it. So that'll all be available to you with the Grassroots kit. Okay, so that pretty much covers what we have for Pride. I want to hand it off to Kyle to come up and talk to us a little bit about KDM and what we're doing here.
So thank you for having me. Again, my name is Kyle McElroy. I'm an elected delegate to the California Democratic Party. When I first ran for that position, I didn't really understand what that meant and what KDM was and what it is. So just maybe by show of hands, does anybody have any background on that, of what it is? Okay, so this is the convention of the California Democratic Party. Typically, we meet once a year. One is to elect the chair of the California Democratic Party, and then the other year typically is to go through an endorsement process for elected officials. This year's a little bit unusual. We're going to have two conventions. One is coming up at the end. It's May 31st and June 1st and June 2nd. That's to elect a new chair. There's a little bit of an issue with the prior chair of the party, so he resigned, and we need to elect a new chair this time around. And then in the fall, which will be another really important convention, that'll be the endorsement process. So basically what this is, there are three types of delegates that come together. There are elected delegates like myself who are elected from the assembly districts around the state. There are delegates that are elected at local Democratic Central Committees. And then there are delegates that are appointed by the elected members of the California legislature and then the federal representatives from California. So we all come together. Basically, we vote on the platform for the party. Like I said, when we go to endorsements, we vote on endorsements. There are a number of different caucuses that are associated with the party, and they meet more or less throughout the year, and then they come together and have caucus meetings throughout the year. It's a really large gathering of Democratic activists from the state. There are different booths and displays in a central hall where different groups will provide information about their activities. Last year we had it, all the major candidates on the Democratic side for Senate and certainly most from the House had presentations there. If you had different issues, there were different activists who presented information on different things that they wanted people to be aware of. This year is going to be, or at least this May, I think is going to be pretty exciting. A number of different candidates have announced, presidential candidates, I should say, have announced that they are going to be appearing at the convention. I think probably one that many people, hopefully not in this room, but Bernie's going to attract a lot of attention that he's appearing. I think Biden's going to be there. Harris is going to be there. I think Booker is going to be there. Amy Klobuchar will be there. I think Elizabeth Warren has announced is going to be there. So there's a number of different presidential candidates who will be there. Not all, and I'm not sure if any right now are officially speaking at the convention, but most of them are hosting parties and get-togethers around, typically fundraisers around the dates surrounding the convention. And so it's a really good opportunity, especially this early on, for activists to get a chance to hear from, potentially meet their candidates for president. So it's going to be a very important time. I'm really interested to see what the campaign has in mind for the convention. Starting to build the commitment from delegates to vote for the candidate at the endorsement convention coming up in the fall is going to be really important. It's going to be a really big test of all the different campaigns' ground game, because like my wife worked on Governor Newsom's campaign leading up to the last convention in February of 2018 in San Diego, and that took months sort of leading up, going out to central committee meetings, the assembly, we meet regionally, the delegates do, going out to those meetings to start reaching out to the delegates to get commitments to vote for, in this case, obviously Mayor Pete, but for the candidate at the endorsement convention. I think this time around, it's going to be really difficult for any candidate to meet the threshold to get the endorsement from the party. So it may be maybe a little bit of a defensive game to make sure that nobody does, that either Biden or Bernie doesn't get the endorsement. But it's really a good test of the ground game to see where you have people on their ground who can reach out to delegates and get their commitment to support Mayor Pete at the endorsement convention in the fall. So this will be sort of this convention will be a chance to get in front of all of those delegates, introduce some of them maybe for the first time, that they're really hearing a lot of details, and get the name out and get them ready for the endorsement convention in the fall.
Yeah, and just to confirm, I believe Mayor Pete is going to be speaking at CADEM as well. So
yeah, and there's a number of different caucuses. So the LGBTQ has a very active caucus. I know they're having a party. I think it's the Friday night. It'd be really awesome if we can get them to speak there. But there's a number of different opportunities as well.
Yeah. I think on a high level, what Pete's campaign has kind of communicated to us, to the grassroots chapters, is he will be speaking. There should be a booth there. They haven't indicated what volunteering opportunities there's specifically going to be at the booth. But what does this mean for us? Speaking with Michael Vargas and Kyle, I think you can also chime in here that we have to really make a big demonstration outside that convention. It's literally going out, marching with our Pete shirts, and having someone get on a megaphone and chant Buttigieg, Buttigieg. I mean, it's that's the kind of showmanship, right, that you'll be seeing from, I'm sure the Bernie guys are going to put together some kind of contingent to do the same as well on Market Street or whatever. I do know we're talking to a couple, we're sending feelers out for a couple of the local council folks that have expressed some support for Pete, to maybe get them to come and speak at that march. So one of the things that I would encourage is that as we're sort of doing this volunteer list for Pride, let's try and generate that database of people who are interested in basically volunteering for an event like this as well.
When is it? In May?
It's May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd.
So
but
coming up.
yeah, it's coming up. So the May 31st is a Friday. It's sort of in the afternoon of Friday, all day Saturday. Saturday is when the election of the chair will be, and then it's really wrapping up Sunday morning. So the really big opportunities are sort of Friday night, Saturday, and Saturday night there'll be a bunch of different parties, and Sunday is pretty quiet.
Natasha, do we need a permit of any sort to do that? I would assume a permit.
A permit. Yeah.
I would guess so, just because you could see how this could go wrong if they don't have that.
You need a permit. You also, you may need to look into some insurance. So Joe Rodriguez from the SF chapter is pretty well versed in this. He's had to do this a couple times for Pride. So we'll definitely get that
we'll combine
information.
forces with them.
It's probably going to be a joint effort between us and the San Francisco chapter.
I'm working with Joe on the Pride Leadership Committee in March, so I'm happy to talk to you about it as well if you have questions.
Yeah.
And then the other question was, just confirm the dates again. It's May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd.
Yeah, we need to confirm the date that Pete is speaking at CADEM. Basically, the day he's speaking is the day we should be there.
But the other thing I think it highlights as we talk about a strategy for communicating going forward, having a strategy to reach out to the different central committees around the area and getting those activists who are very active, I think is going to be an important strategy. So,
who are some of the groups that we should sort of target as a starting list? What would you say is a good hit list for us?
So the one I was thinking about is the Santa Clara County Central Committee. So that is sort of a gathering place. The Democratic clubs from this area, from Santa Clara County, have representatives who come to the Central Committee, and then there are other different groups who are generally pretty active within the Central Committee. So I think having a strategy for Santa Clara County and the other counties to reach out to those central committees will be really important.
Okay. And probably also folks from the Billy LeFranc Center, and those folks would be good to get on board as well. Okay, all right, thanks a lot. So I think we'll move on to the next part of the program here. So I'm gonna invite Dan up to talk to us a little bit about some of the technology tools we've been developing here.
Were you able to get the links in here that I had before or not?
For your links, just tell me when you're ready to switch from the PowerPoint.
Okay, we'll just switch over. That sounds good. Okay, so the first thing is not really a technology tool, but it's a tool. So we'll just start there. The goal here is we thought if we're going to be doing anything like hand out flyers or let's say stand up at a table at a farmer's market, what we wanted to set this up to be was, so let's say someone volunteers to run a farm, let's say Campbell Farmers Market. We wanted your job should be limited to just having to say, okay, I need to get some co-volunteers and go. And then you don't have to worry about, well, what am I going to do? How do I set up and all that sort of stuff. So this is a proposal for what we thought what I'll call the essential materials would be to get that done. Very much open for comment. You should put yourself in the shoes of someone trying to organize one of these things and what you would need. But the general idea is, at least if you're local, just drop this off at your house, like, a few days before, and you can just take it with you and go, and you're not worrying about going in Kinkos, make copies of stuff or anything like that. So the three main areas was we were looking at 2 to 3 banners or posters. Thanks to Pete's design site, these are pretty easy to put together, and we would just put them together and share them. Probably we have to figure out how many of these might go in parallel, but we were thinking somewhere between 2 and 4 sets of these things, and materials to put them on. We absolutely need some material on Pete, and that's something we don't have today. And maybe later on we can discuss if there's a group of folks who might want to own building our own short set of materials. It's not a lot. It's like, a card or just a sheet or something. So you have literally something in your hand to hand out if people come up and talk to you, right? We figured when we do this, we want to kind of also do voter registration material. That's pretty straightforward, and I think we can work with folks here on getting voter registration cards, or if we need to, we can just go and register with the county to get that. It's not a very complex process, but we would give you a set of voter registration cards. And also, best is the online resources, do it online. I mean, we can hand out cards, but if someone's willing to sit there with their phone and just register right there, great, right? And there may need to be some training with that as well, because there's some rules around voter registration. The biggest one is you can't pick and choose who you're going to help register to vote. Like, Trump supporter walks up to you and says they want to register to vote, you give them as much help as you do the other person, right? That's kind of the rules on that.
And
so,
one of the things that Dan's done for us is we're going to be including like a QR code on all of these, kind of battle cards or whatever index cards we're handing out, and it literally takes you straight to the online portal that you can register to vote in California. So that'll be a really easy way to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Also, I think it looks good for us to say, yeah, we're here for Pete, but we're here for, voting, right, as for the democratic process. So we kind of like putting those together. And obviously, based on what we were talking about before, in some of the materials on Pete, we make a really easy way for folks to give us their name. When I show you the website, so we have an easy way to do that as well. For if they're interested in Pride or joining this group or just want to be kept informed, we want to make it really easy for people to kind of give us the information and start to be part of the communications chain on that. So this is roughly what we had in mind. Pete's team has already designed a great California for Pete banner, so we would just make a physical copy of that rather than a virtual copy. We were thinking of having 2 posters. One would probably just be the Silicon Valley for Pete poster that we're using outside right now. Another would probably be a registration to vote poster. I mentioned the voter registration cards, some sort of handout in this place we're going to need some help. And then the other thing would be just some packets not to hand out. But let's say you're excited to show up for Pete, but you haven't been watching the news. You don't know what Pete's stances are on things. A way to cram for the test, so you can at least have a 2-minute conversation with someone if necessary on that. And then the voter registration rules, so let's go to jail, right? So we do that as well, right? So those would be like for the team. Yeah.
So one question, suggestion, it might be good to have another poster that is not, I know we are Silicon Valley for Pete, but something just sort of like Pete for president or something like that. Because like in Morgan Hill,
I think that banner in front, that would be right off. That would it's their brand and their logo. We will use all that. Would that satisfy what you're talking about?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Because I'm just thinking like there are areas where Silicon Valley is not going to be.
That's fair, and we can make it more neutral if we need to. It's just money.
So yeah,
honestly, it's not that.
Dan was talking about getting us kind of coordinated on a California for Pete banner. There's a California for Pete. It's already on their Grassroots toolkit and everything on the official Pete website. So we'll probably make a banner for that as well.
Yeah. If you go to, I think it's design.peteforamerica.com, all the graphics, the fonts, like the whole, they did actually a pretty slick job. A very corporate job, honestly, of putting together their design theme. And if you ever want to make your own materials, you can print from there. I've been doing that you see the website, I've been doing that all week long. The only downside is their fonts are ones you have to buy, which is really annoying. But anyway, what else can I mention here? So that's the main point, and we'll talk about how we're going to coordinate around. We want to be somewhat coordinated on where we tabling, or at least identify. Wow, here's an area we thought we'd hit and we haven't hit it. And be a little bit coordinated on that. The primary goal will be make it easy for people to go do this. So, set up a tabling location near home. It will be like kind of priority number one, just so we can get on and do that. But at some point, we'll want to fill in the map. The only thing we're not including, and want feedback on this, we were hoping folks could provide their own table, like a folding table, like one of these, and chairs. But I don't. If that's hard, I think we can probably. I got some in my attic. I can source some, but.
Ironing board. Ironing board.
Would like to be a little more professional on the ironing board.
I could leave mine out and people can grab it from my house, and I live 5 minutes. Like, like I have.
So I think we'll play that by ear. When I wrote up a doc on this that I will eventually just share with everyone here. And I think worst case, we'll have as you're signing up, said if I don't have a table, you note it and we'll figure out how to get that table.
I have tables and those tents and stuff too. I'm close here for anything in this area.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I would add pop-up tents to that list of like things that might need to get loaned around. Tables like a pop-up.
Okay.
In the middle of summer.
It can get hot, right? I'm well aware of sun, like hats all the time. So
Dan, I was going to say along the lines, like if they are the contacts for this particular area, right, like Central Santa Clara, that we maybe identify a tabling head.
For each, that
Yeah,
makes sense,
because then we can cycle also the materials between one coordinating group to do tabling in a particular farmer's market or wherever in a given location that we keep
that
going
sounds
to.
good. The one last thing also that I thought of, I think whoever is going to lead a table, probably the most onerous thing we'll have to do, figure out what the requirements are for being allowed to do it. Every municipality, like in farmers markets, for example, you cannot go into the farmers market, you have to be outside it. You have to check with the local municipality on therefore what their rules are. That is probably the biggest headache in the whole thing, but there's no way yet we can just tell everyone what all the rules are, though I think as we learn, we should just compile that whole thing. So next time around, we say, oh, you're in Saratoga, you're in San Jose, these are the rules you got to follow. We know what they are, and we can kind of go forward with that. But the end goal here, I always believe in if people are going to give their time, make it as easy for them as possible to give their time. And the goal here eventually is to get to where it's just turnkey, where you're saying, myself and 3 friends, and we're going to go do a table. We want to do this location, and like you really don't have to worry about much else besides dedicating your time, which is really the precious resource we need from folks. Make sense? By the way, my email on all this, if you have comments later, is just dan@sturman.org, STURMAN. So if you have any comments you want to talk to me later, just like drop me a line. Feedback's welcome.
Yeah, so for a question about like what's the requirement, like I assume that requires a lot of resources to move around. Why don't we just have something in Facebook group or something? So it's sort of like a sign-up sheet. Like basically we have some research questions we need people to pile in, and people can just volunteer and chip in and just assign them questions like what's the requirement to set up a table at Mountain View.
Okay. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So some central way to say,
action.
hey, I have the following questions, and we'll figure out who take it on. Okay,
Right.
that's a good idea.
Because like, I assume it wouldn't be just the people in this room who's doing all the work. I assume there are people out there who just cannot be here physically, or people online. They might be want to help, or they don't have time to physically be there, but they can help, doing some research.
That's fair. The only thing I would say on that, if I was going to go do a table somewhere, I'd want to be 100% sure I had the correct rules, not someone else's thoughts, or right? Just because really awkward if a police officer walks up to you and tells you have to go, right? You really don't want that to happen. That could ruin your day. But I think there's a way we can crowdsource a lot of this and have a good way for, if you have time, here's some activities, some research activities we need people to do. So I'll think about how we could incorporate that best.
Yeah, so having spoken with someone from Indivisible about this issue, retail spaces pretty much, if it's a private shop, right, and the owner has given you their permission to table outside their shop, I mean, that's permission enough. In fact, if you build a relationship with, so for example, their group, they table at the Campbell Farmers Market, and there is a private shop owner who in fact is part of Indivisible, and she's on that same street, so she allows them to table over there. So a little bit of this is going to take us kind of going out and soliciting maybe for a spot we think is going to be friendly to this. Can we table outside your store? So, for example, for those who went flyering for the watch party, we identified like those couple of spots on El Camino Real where the store owners were okay with us putting a flyer. So, that's a potential candidate that would say, hey, I'm okay with you tabling. As far as other retail chains like Whole Foods, for instance, I know the Whole Foods off of Alameda, we have Greenpeace table there all the time. But I believe they may charge a fee for that, or they might have some proper process to get you to table on a assigned day, just to ensure that whoever's in the queue is getting their turn. So, I mean, at a high level, like for retail spaces, I know those are some of the regulations around it. Now, if you want to individually go to a farmer's market and be handing out, placards, right? So you don't set up a table and have a dedicated space. You're literally just flyering. You're grabbing people and you're just giving them a placard. That is perfectly, you're well within your right to do that.
You dress up as a table yourself?
I know, dress up as a table or dress up in a feature, yeah. And for college campuses, I know SJSU, they require you to rent a space on their, I think it's either called Library Walk or the Student Walk, where all of the orgs go and table. So that involves a fee. And I believe as an outside org, we can kind of go and just randomly flyer people as a person, but something we should work on is soliciting the local Democratic Club on SJSU's campus, Stanford Dems, get them to do some of that passing around, right? Yeah.
They just have testimony.
They just had, yeah. We've been communicating with them, but I think what we're running into is a lot of the Democratic clubs are very reluctant to openly side with one candidate or the other. And same goes for grassroots orgs like Indivisible. They don't want to be outwardly showing support this early. So what we have to do is kind of solicit people within the orgs that are sympathetic to the peak cause and get them individually to rally.
So okay, then I've been spending some time just starting, this is all very nascent, on kind of tech tools, with my general rule being throwing technology into the mix without a good reason, like it's a compelling problem, is not worthwhile. Like there's a lot of tech tools we can go grab and say we're using, but I think too many is actually worse than not enough. So we want to make sure we're being really focused on what we're doing here. So kind of broken into three general classes of things. One is external communication, right? We have our meetings here, but how do we reach the rest of the world, grow this group, grow volunteers we might have, or just get people who could show up at events like Pride and stuff like that. That's all the usual suspects. I think our problem right now is we have so many of these things going. We gotta kind of focus our areas, and I think our goal will be to have a website as a root place to point other things to, because otherwise you have Twitter trying to point to Facebook sometimes, trying to point, it gets very, very confusing. I think we've all seen that. Last time there was a request, we start putting together all the materials. I've started on that as well, but we didn't have a mailing list yet, so the mailing list comes before being able to get folks help on that. Internal communications, which is like, how do we want to coordinate as a team when we grab folks? I think the primary mechanism is going to be email for that, just because it is universal to everyone, and generally less intrusive than texting. And but we do have Silicon Valley for Pete Slack if we decide we want to use it, but I want to make sure we really have a need and enough people would use it. I think Slack is great for those of us who have used it in a work environment, generally in a tech company, and others like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what this is. And then planning and action, and this will probably be the last phase. We're just starting on this, but kind of just basic tech tools to keep ourselves organized. This will, just from what are our mailing lists, how do we do that? What areas have we covered? How do we make that easy to discover? What areas do we need to cover? How do we post that to everyone? At some point, we might want to know how many times the same people showed up for the following events and so on, so we know who our active people are versus our, I should want to show up for one event sort of folks, and kind of track all of that. So where we are right now, the website's near complete. I'll bring that up in a sec. We own basically every possible domain we might want under the sun at this point. But we're gonna only use this one for now, but we got the others, just because you always have to worry about someone else landing a fake site on top of that. Not all the others. If someone, we didn't get SV for Pete and so, there's too many permutations. We got a bunch of them. I'll bring the website up in a bit after we get through this slide here. Right now, because we have a little bit of, just want to be a little bit careful from how much we're talking about where we're physically meeting, we're going to continue to use Meetup as the central repository for there is an event and this is where it's going to be. Because the thing about Meetup is you need to register first, be part of the group before you get the information details. And at least for now, just from a kind of safety security point of view, we're just going to keep using that tool for what it's good at, though there will be a definite link from the website to the Meetup and a way to sign up. The email list is very, very close to done. We now have all the folks who come to this meeting and all the folks who came to the launch party, at least in a spreadsheet with their email addresses. I think we just need to do kind of pass over once to look at it. I think Natasha said there was at least one person who didn't want us emailing them, so we got to make sure we exclude them from that, a few things like that. But we will have email, which we should have had a while ago, but we will have it coming very, very soon. So if you see a test email from me or just saying, hey, you're on the list, if you don't want to be on, this is how you get off it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, have folks in here been getting emails from the Silicon Valley for Pete email address? No.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You haven't gotten yours? Okay.
Okay.
I haven't got anything either. I didn't know what it was.
I signed up for everything I could find.
Where did you get that list from? Because I know it wasn't the other sheet. So where did you even email it?
Yeah. So there are a couple of areas that emails have been going out from. One is Silicon Valley for Pete, which is the all of the watch party and the chapter meeting list combined. And then the second is the Meetup list. Through Meetup, you can send messages to all of the members. So we've been sending emails through there. So if someone has not been receiving their email, it means either we don't have the right address on file for you, or we'll
so
get that
if
sorted
you're
out.
on that sign-up sheet, I will be double checking tonight all the email addresses. If you haven't been getting emails, one good thing to do, make sure, I say this is someone with horrible handwriting, that you've been legible in what you've written down, because some of them, I was literally like zooming up the screen, trying to like figure out what character was which in the email address. But I think we're near final now, and you can also just drop me a line. We'll send this out soon, and if you're not getting anything, let me know, and I'll make sure you're on the list. Yeah. Okay. I mentioned Slack. We got it. Just do we want to use it for anything? Right now, it's in a holding pattern. That cost $0. That was nice. That was a good price. But if we need to use it, we'll be able to use it. But I think if you've ever used Slack before, it makes no sense till we have a higher velocity of engagement. It's really a conversational tool more than anything else. So we'll hold it in reserve for that. I've started a very small content list. My goal is to crowdsource that, but I need the email list working before I could say, hey guys, here's the content we found so far. Here's where you can add it. Let's go from there. So hopefully within the next week, you should be getting an email about that.
Could you explain that?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So last time there was a request actually that there are, even in this area, about 4 or 5 of all of Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, and so on. There's a lot of content scattered in a lot of places. And there was a request for a bunch of folks, can we please at least get a list of where all the possible content and things you might want to watch are. And so it's just
okay. You mean the Grassroots social media or Pete's social media?
It was a mix of both. People just didn't know where to go for anything. So it was just kind of put it all in one place. Just a list. That's all it was.
Okay.
So I just did some research. I think I got up to like 10 to 12 such line items. Some are Pete's, some are Grassroots. And we can just kind of close that off. And I think if we have it all, then folks have it if they want to go investigate what's going on or who's posting what or cross-posting things or, so on.
Okay, because there is a big registry list, in fact, of all the consolidated chapter accounts.
Is that something that's publicly available?
It's both on the Pete Facebook group, the Pete for President Facebook group, and it is also on the PFA Grassroots channel. Okay. And then there's a big spreadsheet that they've like.
So we can just tack that on.
We should probably just tack that on.
Sounds good. And I'm not too hopeful on this, but we're looking at how do we coordinate ourselves on tabling and so on. Is anyone else in the room like a JavaScript coder that we check in? Okay. Yeah. If you're willing to give me a few hours, it might be useful. We can train later.
Yeah. Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, this is Brian. I'm in New York actually, but I appreciate being able to attend tonight. So I work on some of the software stuff for that Pete for America Grassroots group that you guys were just talking about. And we're actually working on something for this, and I think it's something we should talk about. And depending on exactly what we think the use cases of this are, I think this might be something that we can work on together and get done.
That would be ideal rather than doing our own thing. We're just too small in the area to be building too many of our own tools. So doing something that's broader would be ideal.
Yep. So we can I can talk more about that with you, and then we can bring it back to the next meeting, hopefully.
Sounds very good. Okay, excellent. With that, I'm gonna bring up the website. If I do that, will the screen share see it? If I bring up a website? Okay. So this is in a staging area right now. It's just that link right there, that's all. Okay. Okay. So
hey folks on the phone, can you still see our screen, or is it still showing PowerPoint? Could somebody confirm in the chat or by voice?
It's still showing PowerPoint.
Okay. Okay. Hey guys, can you see our website right now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You just hit the green button on the full screen so everyone can see this. Everyone can still see it? That didn't make it go away?
I think they
I'll take
can
that as
see it,
yes. Okay. Okay, so what we ended up doing was, I mean, you'll see, we just have a few key elements in this website because we are not the national campaign. There is the national campaign and all their resources. So what we were putting down is just what we thought was absolutely essential for folks who are looking to get engaged locally or trying to figure out what getting engaged might look like. So the first thing you see is I want to get involved, an easy form to fill out and to get going, right? We try to keep it as simple as possible. Name and email and your zip so we know roughly where you're located. That will be more important as I think as we get more organized, because I think what we'll try to do is have local contacts for different areas to kind of connect with folks. And then just a few check boxes that we thought of now on like ways to get informed, feeling that I think that'll give people the most sense of taking action. You might want to say, look, I'll give you my name, but I just want to be informed, or no, this is something I'm really interested in, this sort of activity. So very, very simple sign up, and it's the first thing you see. If you scroll down, kind of staying in our motif of registering to vote being easy. If you click this, you go right to the voter registration site for California. Then for the folks who are curious or want to know if we're crazy, we start with kind of an about us. I will update our key events on here as we get new ones. But again, if you want to register for them, you click on the meetup button that takes you to our meetup site, because that's going to be the source of truth for that sort of information. Right?
So guys, and we're eventually going to kind of develop a calendar as well on this site. And what the strategy is that for the tabling stuff, like the very public kind of events, that will sort of expose the location details and what have you. But purely for chapter meetings, we're going to try to keep things very regulated through Meetup for very member-oriented events, because what we really want to be ensuring is we see who's coming to the meetings, we get that, Dan's going to show you in a minute kind of a map of how all of these volunteers are also sort of laid out in the Bay Area. And the other part of this is, you know, our chapter meetings, they're you know, intimate, folks are coming after work. We want to ensure we know, you know, kind of from a safety perspective, you know, who's coming in and that sort of thing. You know, we trust that it's going to be all good, but we always want to be sure, right? So you know, that's kind of as far as what we see the unfolding of this, you know, from the calendar perspective. You're going to see like a big calendar of in your area, given if you live in Campbell or given if you live in Mountain View, this is a tabling event near you. That's happening on this Saturday, this Sunday, right? And then the meetup link, I think, is going to be purely for organizing chapter meetings.
That's right. So, well, but we need to get the content first, then we can expand on that.
Yeah.
Great. Here's a place I need everyone's help. So we put what highlights we had, which was a video of the viewing party, and there was a little video from the first chapter meeting. Guys, we look terrible and we look bored in a lot of this material. So we are going to have to make an effort to all take pictures or get some folks who are really photo interested in taking pictures, and we should all not be too proud to stage some photos and look super excited, okay? I did the best I could do with the cropping, but it's, you know, it's not pretty. But I put it what we got, okay? So we need to, this is something we can all help do, is make it look like this is a fun organization. So, okay? I can do the tech, I can't do that part. Like I need everyone to help on that. So as we get those, I'll just update this and make some better pictures. But this, view this more as a placeholder for we'll have some really cool stuff that makes everyone want to come hang out with us. Okay. This one we can't help with, but it does need some help also. We put a Meet Pete session just for brief links to where to find more information on Pete, because we figured we should have some links to that. But besides his main website, he doesn't have like a policy paper or any major points yet. We will add that here. So for now, we went with social media. This is live streams of the Twitter and the Facebook, and then just a little blurb with links right there to his two main websites, the meetpete.org and then the national website places. So as we get more material and more stuff to show up as the campaign matures, we'll just kind of keep this up to date. It's kind of just the highlights and ways for people who are curious to go find more. Our job is not to host all that content. And that's it. So it's short and sweet, but I think it uses his themes, its colors. It looks like you have at least some clue, and it's easy to sign up to do something, right? So again, send me any feedback you have, comments, all feedback is welcome. I hope we'll go live with this I think we're just letting it sit another day or so to make sure there wasn't a glaring error, and then I'll post it live, and I'll start doing some SEO stuff to make sure it comes up in search results and a few things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, will this be a place where we can post sign-ups for people who want to march in the Pride Parade and sign-ups for people who want to go to the convention? Only a couple weeks away.
I think it's only a couple weeks away. My thing is, I'll probably change one of these tick boxes to I'm interested in SF or San Jose Pride, and we can just get them there.
Let's take that one offline.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to kind of separate that out a little bit. But to answer your question, yes, the website is going to be, it's going to be a central repository for you redirecting people.
So with that, did you share just this, should I unshare and share the other thing?
It's desktop share.
Oh, it is desktop share. Okay, so we can go to the data slides, right? That's what we had next, I think.
Okay. Do you want me
The ones that I,
okay, here, I'll stop share for a second.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. Okay, you got all that. Great. And it's desktop show, so when I open the browser, because I'll need to do that for this one. Now, this is just this is more just kind of a little bit for fun. But what I did was I took we had two groups of addresses. We had the folks from the last chapter meeting, and we had the folks from the watch party. And I just wanted to kind of see where folks are at. And we can, as we get more people, I think this will be something we want to automate. For now, it's very manual. But if you see here, okay, this was, you can kind of see where folks are attending this from, right? And why I think that's important is because we're going to try to figure out where we covered, where are we not? Do we feel we have the volunteers we need? Do we need to go do something in a particular area to try to attract some folks? The way this kind of works is just a heat map. If you're not familiar with that, darker is more people. So in this case, I did by zip code because that's the only information we got on folks, and that's more than suitable for this purpose. A really dark spot means 3 people came from that zip code, so that looks like Palo Alto there, for example. You can see this is probably, there's 2 of us, I think, hanging out in Los Altos, one right next to each other. There's 2 blobs that come together. Obviously, we have like a bunch of folks in this area and so on. So you can kind of see where our team, so to speak, at least our team as of last week.
Dan, the share is coming up as just a blank white screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let's see if we can. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Let me first fix the share. And I'll just do this and I'll switch back. Okay, is that better?
Yeah, there it is. Yep, cool.
Great. Okay. This was just hacked together, by the way. This is not systematic in any way. But and someone wanted me to zoom in on what we had in Palo Alto.
No, sorry, Palo Alto and South.
And so, yeah. Let me. Right. zoom out. I actually zoomed too much there.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can kind of see roughly how we're lined out there, right? So that's not bad. One of the observations I made from this, and I'll show you on the other map, there are large demographics. If you start to look at the zip codes that we have no representation from, right? And particularly more diverse economically areas, we're not really getting that, right? Too much. So something to work on, right? And I think something we want to maybe talk about in a bit is how do we broaden the sorts of, like, I think we can go and do some of the tabling in what I'll call the usual suspect areas, but maybe we need a focus on how do we connect with some of the communities around here that wouldn't be the natural first choice to go, like, they're not going to be at farmers markets, for example, right? Or something like that. So we should probably think about how to do that as kind of a focus area. Let me flip to the other one as well. Where was it? Stop share.
Yeah, do the stuff.
Okay, and then I'll just, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to the next slide and I'll pull this up and then I'll just share that. Oops, where'd sharing go?
Here, let me help you.
You're more familiar with Zoom stuff tonight.
No worries.
This is kind of interesting because this is our watch party, and what's interesting about that is you'll see we did it in a sense a better job covering the Bay Area with the watch party. Now I think we know we have a San Francisco set of colleagues. I think we were discussing before. We don't know if we have an East Bay set of colleagues, but we may. It's kind of very informal. I keep telling Natasha she needs to organize some sort of 5 families meeting, you know, just like make sure the whole Bay Area is split up. But it's kind of interesting. We got better, as you might expect for an event like that. There are a lot of people who came but aren't coming to these meetings, which totally makes sense. But I was thinking we may want to look at the list of folks who showed interest enough to come to a watch party, aren't participating here, and see if there's a way we can engage them, keep them involved, because we know exactly who those folks are, right? So what you should expect in the future, I'd like, as we have more reach to folks, we'll have some view like this, hopefully something a little bit more reproducible. This was like hacking to get this to work, but something more reproducible. So when we get folks from an event, we can kind of say, okay, what areas are we covering better now? How do we understand who we've got? How should we best reach out to them? Who would be good to call then or email when we're going to do another event in the same area or something like that, and try to just use where people are located to kind of keep it sorted.
I think what's also notable about your map is that the more you have an activity that kind of engages people in a different sort of way, so it's not out front chapter meeting, it's something that we come up with as a group that gets people to do something fun. Partying with a purpose is what I've heard like some groups call it, right? So we have to kind of think of how we can do that, because that attendance is really going to be a lot higher than what we're going to get at a regular chapter meeting like this.
Which, by the way, I think is good, because I think we had all those many people in this room. We get nothing done if we have that many people in this room, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any plan for a watch party for the Fox Town Hall?
Fox Town Hall. So we can put it on the table.
No, there's no plan, but we could make a plan.
Yeah, we can make a plan.
Just while we're kind of showing some maps, I have one that's kind of related to this that could be interesting. Cool. Could I send it to you in the chat, the link to it?
Maybe let me see if this is Brian, right?
This is Brian.
Yeah, let me see if I can pass the ball over to you.
Oh yeah, I could just share. I guess that works too. It's online though, so I could just send it a link.
Here, I've made you the. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna make you the host.
Right. Okay. Are you? Is anybody seeing what I have?
Now we are. There we go.
Yeah,
Great.
we can see it.
Cool. All right. So this is most of the the launch party event that all of the launch day events for Pete were all hosted on this mobilizeus event tool. And what's interesting is that a lot of the candidates actually use that tool for all of their events as well. And so I played around a little bit and just collected all of the events that all of the candidates have put up on that website. And so what's interesting is you kind of get like a map of just like everything, right? So if you look specifically at Pete's events in San Francisco, these are all of the events that were advertised on that tool in San Francisco. I don't know exactly what areas. I'm not very familiar with your guys' geography, but yeah. So, but what's interesting is you can also look at the other candidates and see kind of what they've been doing. And so some of these are grassroots organized events. Some of them are actually the candidate visiting. There's not a clear distinction between those. But one thing that I found interesting about doing this analysis was really just kind of, there's a difference in the scale of some of these organizations, right? Like if you look at Warren, for example, you can kind of tell how long she's been working on this. She has about 700 events on here, whereas Pete has about 150, maybe 200. But those are still way higher than anybody else's. And so I think, again, Pete kind of stopped using Mobilize as a tool, and it's been kind of frustrating, and it's something that we're trying to work on as the P4America community, is to try to like combine all of our events in one place where people can find something that's local to them. But it's kind of a signal of the work that we have to do and the places that there are, that there are things happening. And I don't know exactly how to use it, but I thought it was fun. That's about all I got, though.
Okay. Cool. Thank you,
Ryan,
Fred.
do you have the chapter tool as well when you hover over the dot to the details?
Yeah. What's the question?
Do you? I'm saying, do you have the demo of that as well? I think you showed it to us last time on the call.
Oh, that shows like where the groups are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. No, that
you can do that, but yeah, I don't have all of the groups organized in a way that makes it easy to map.
Yes.
Is this the two that they use for the? I remember for the watch party. The same tool.
So this is Mobilize America. What they did is on Pete's actual campaign website, you could find an event through Mobilize America in your zip code. So that's how folks had found our watch party in that zip code, right? So Brian what he's showing you here is that he took that data from Mobilize America and kind of mapped that out. And then this is showing sort of the spread of all those watch party events that were registered on Pete's website. And then looks like, Brian, you were also able to take Mobilize America's data from Warren's the other campaigns. I guess they exposed it. And then you could
it's all publicly available. I don't know why that's secure, but that's what it is.
That's pretty amazing. So Bernie's events, they didn't expose those, though.
No, Bernie uses a separate tool.
Okay.
So he uses some canvas.org or something else. We could also play around with that. I think that's public too, but I didn't for this.
Yeah, because Bernie had apparently 839 of these watch party events in California. I think that'd be something cool because he had a map as well, I think, of his dots that were laid out.
Yeah, he does. I don't know if you guys are still seeing that.
Yeah, we can see it. Look,
that's
Bernie.
If it ever loads, this is, so Bernie was crazy. This is awesome. This is where I think we want to get for Pete. But we're on our way compared to where we were 4 weeks ago. We're in a good place.
We are. We really are. So Brian's doing a lot of work with folks really across the country who've kind of joined in on this software call, and they're really trying to get very innovative in some of these tools that they're hopefully we're gonna get pretty much a set for folks on the national level to really be able to plug in this information and guide their effort. I think we really look forward to working with them on some of the stuff we're doing for canvassing.
I'm so excited about what you guys are doing here, especially. I think of all of the regional chapters, you guys have really got the organization and enthusiasm thing down. So you're a little bit of a model for everybody else at the moment.
Well, we really looks like we're having fun.
No pressure.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the share here.
Sure. So Brian is actually out in New York. He's joining us very late right now. But you know, he's heading the software team for the National PFA Grassroots org.
Grassroots. Brian, you're not actually a staff member on the campaign, correct?
Correct. No, I am not. No. It's all volunteer. I have a day job and all that fun stuff. Yeah, we're starting to coordinate more closely with the campaign. I think they've realized that they can't do everything, especially with the speed at which they're trying to scale. And so they're offloading more and more of that on volunteers, which is exciting and kind of daunting. But yeah, so I'm not officially affiliated with the campaign.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, we're running out of time. So let's go ahead and cover, Dan, I think the rest of this section that you have.
All the material.
Okay. You're throughout. Okay. So folks. Oh, okay.
No, I know. I said, unless I've forgotten the slide I put together, we were done.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. So yeah, so you know, keep posted. We're gonna send out an email to all of you regarding and for those of you that mentioned you are not getting emails from Silicon Valley for Pete, please come see me later and you'll fix you know, whatever information we have on you in hand. So now I want to take the remainder of our session today to really get into something a little bit more interactive. So for folks who all filled out your sheet, in groups of, you know, 3 or 4, maybe turn to your neighbor. Let's kind of discuss what were the top 5 areas that you target in your community for canvassing. And then let's compile that list of policy positions. And I think we'll take about like 5 minutes to discuss and then